I couldn't find a video that was this specific install for our application, so I had to watch a bunch of videos, kind of mesh it together, and then put the little wiring diagram. I drew it out myself and got a buddy to check it, and then wired it all up and everything worked right. So I was like, we might as well make a video of it too. That way people can learn from it if they so choose to. The wiring is super simple. I'm not an electrician. I am a YouTube self-taught electrician, if anything. And I don't even call myself that. It's just, I can follow simple videos on YouTube, and that's about it. We'll start by removing our panel here. Gives you access to your control panel here. Then you got 4 screws. So we need to take those 4 out. Just make sure if you're doing this, I've actually already wired all this stuff up. So I'm not actually going to be dealing with any of the wires and stuff right now, but if you are dealing with it, make sure to cut your power off. And then also you can cut your battery disconnect to the off position too. That way you don't have any power going through the trailer while you're dealing with all this electrical wires. We also need to get to the battery bank. Screw here, screw here. I wanted to give y'all a diagram on paper. So here's our power distribution box, and here's the negative bus bar. It's gonna show on the Airstream it's white. I just put black here because most of the time your negative is black, but Airstream it's gonna be white. Okay, so what we'll do, you're gonna take the black wire coming off of the power distribution panel on the fuse, and we're gonna connect that to the switch. So you have a red wire that connects to the black wire, and then we'll go to the negative bus bar and you'll see a bunch of white wires on it. But we're gonna take the black wire and we're gonna do a black wire straight from the bus bar to the 12-volt side of our converter. Then we're gonna go back to our switch here, and we'll have a red wire that we will run from the switch to the 12-volt side of our converter. So here it is, red to red and black to black. Okay, so this is our 12-volt side. Now we're moving on to our 24-volt side. So you have your positive and your negative. Your positive is your yellow, your negative is your black. So we will take our yellow positive from the 24-volt side of our converter and take it to the red positive side of our 12-volt DC cable panel pass-through. And then we'll take the negative of our 20-volt side, which is black, and we'll hook it to the black on our DC cable panel pass-through. So positive, positive, negative to negative, and that's the whole thing. And then on the outside, this is your just regular Starlink DC power cable, and it just plugs right into that cable panel pass-through. And that's it. That's on paper. So you can see our power distribution panel here. The black wire coming off the back of this that's connected to the Wago is our positive wire. You'll find that on the 10 amp fuse I have put in. And it is going to run to the red wire that's connected to the back of the switch, and it connects at another Wago. I just did that because I needed some extra room. And then on the other side of our switch, there's only 2 places to put wires. So the other piece is going from the switch, and then it's going to connect to another red wire that we will run directly to the step-up converter. It is a rat's nest back here, so just ignore that. We're just focusing on these wires. Next, I'm going to zoom in on the switch itself here. Turned on right now. Moving on, I'm going to show you. So we were just looking under here, under that bench seat. Now this is our negative bus bar. So we will have one wire running from that negative bus bar, which is a white wire. I'm sorry, it's a black wire running from there, and it's going to go directly to the converter. Airstream is white for negative. See these two wires coming? We have a red and a black. That red wire is coming from the switch, and that black wire is hooked to the negative bus bar. And then you can see the wires coming off the converter. This is the input, that's the 12-volt side. Red to red, black to black. And next you'll notice on the other side of the converter, that is the output side of the converter, that is now 24 volts. So you have yellow, which is your positive, and black, which is your negative. So you'll just match up another red wire to your positive and black wire to your negative. And then we are going to run both of these wires here. These wires are going to go right to the female Starlink plug that is actually on the outside. So you see me tracing these wires here. Then you can see the back side of our outlet there. So positive to positive, red to red, and then negative to negative, black to black. And I'm just using some random, the last bit of Wago connectors I had here, so that's why they look different, but they're doing the same purpose here. So it's a pretty simple diagram. So the way that I hooked up the outside is where the battery was vented before. We have lithium batteries, therefore we don't need to vent them, so I use this little a DC port specifically for the Starlink male end to plug into. It's waterproof with silicone around it. I'm just going to show y'all what that looks like. It's pretty neat, fits in the spot nicely, so here it is. But it's tucked away nicely, it's waterproofed all the way around, and it works good. I've got the Starlink hooked up running right now. I'll show y'all a speed test, and yeah, it's pretty neat. Works good so far, running on DC power. That way when we're boondocking, we can use that because we don't have an inverter in the Basecamp. And it actually comes with this little magnetic plug, so when we're not using it, got this little piece right here that will fill that gap when the cord's not actually plugged in. There it is. I'm gonna try to do a speed test with y'all watching on my phone. That way y'all can see live what we're pulling and how it looks. Wanted to pull up how much power usage the Starlink Mini uses too. This is on our Victron Smart Shunt. This is everything in the Airstream cut off, and this is immediately after I hit the on button to power our Starlink. It looks like it hovered around 2 to 2.5 amps, but once it steadied out, it stayed around like 1.3 to 1.89 amps, somewhere around there. I wanted to talk about a few things too, just like some of the tools you'll need for the job. So I use 16 gauge wire. It can handle up to like 13 amps. So I did that, and then I just put a 10 amp fuse in. You need a step up bit if you're gonna cut out a little hole for your switch. You'll need the little step-up converter. I got ours off of Amazon. You'll need a 2-prong or 3-prong switch. Ours is not lighted, so it's just a 2-prong switch. You'll need your electrical supplies. You don't have to use those Wago connectors, Wago, however you say it. I just like using them. That's what I had on hand. And then I used some of the connectors that came with the converter themselves. Those worked good. Just electrical tape, pliers, all the regular electrical stuff. A little drill wouldn't be a bad thing to have too, just for zipping screws out and putting them back in fast. Screwdriver, if that's all you have, is fine. And then for also mounting your converter wherever you're going to put that, you'll need a few screws for that. Fuse, whatever size you want to use. I use 10. You can use a 15. and then some silicone. I use that because I put that around our battery vent just to make sure it stayed waterproof. But what I'll do is, I found all the links to the things that I used for the project, and I'll just link them in the description. And if you want to use them, you can. These are just products that I found, and a lot of them were pretty cheap, so it worked out good for us. It's got the Starlink powered on DC power rather than us using AC power. It's going to help a lot when we're boondocking. So we're excited about that, to have internet, especially like when we took our last big trip last year. We were in some places where we just had no service, so I couldn't even pull up maps sometimes. So it's just safer for us to be able to get some internet and service when we're in those places that we don't have any. That's it. Peace. Thanks for tuning.